An incoming Republican congressman, you're seeing right there, George Santos, has got a little bit of explaining to do about his background. A lot of the story, the legend, the mythology of himself that he ran on to get elected doesn't seem to have any backing whatsoever. So here is what we know about him. Okay, so he's the son of Brazilian immigrants, first openly gay Republican to win a House seat as a non-incumbent. So that's impressive in today's Republican Party. By his account, he started off at a New York City public college and then immediately rocketed into fame and fortune. Okay, he became a seasoned Wall Street financier and investor, okay, with a family-owned real estate portfolio of 13 properties. So a little bit inconsistent with the idea that you were just some kid pulling yourself up by your bootstraps at a public college when your family owns many, many properties, but whatever. So here's the thing. People have looked into many of the specific claims he has made about his background, including the New York Times. They've looked at public documents, court filings. There doesn't seem to be evidence of much of any of it. And take a look at the things that he made up. So, or at least hasn't yet proven. Citigroup and Goldman Sachs, those are firms that he says he worked for, told the Times they have no record of ever working there. Which, okay, maybe if you were a summer intern or something, the documentation would have been lost. But if you were a seasoned Wall Street financier and investor, I think they'd remember you. The dude's not 80, okay? He was there a couple of years ago, supposedly. So there's no proof of that. There's little evidence that his animal rescue group, Friends of Pets United, was, as he claims, a tax-exempt organization. The IRS could find no record of a registered charity with that name. His education, also suspect. He's said that he graduated with a degree in economics and finance from Baruch College, a public four-year college in New York City, back in 2010, so only 12 years ago. But representatives from the school told the Times they had no record of his enrollment, despite searching multiple variations of his name. Again, it wasn't that long ago. Also, he says he went to NYU, but a spokesman for that university says they have no attendance records that match his name and birth date. So his work history, his charitable history, his education history appear to be made up. And you're probably thinking, well, that's about as bad as it could get. It can get worse because he has also claimed that he has lost. This is I guess to make him seem like kind of a victim in a business sense. He's lost 4 employees in the 2016 Pulse nightclub shooting. He made that claim during an interview after his election, but the New York Times found that none of the 49 victims of that shooting appeared to be associated with any of his firms in any way. And look, there are a lot more questions about this guy, about where his money came from, since he doesn't have the education he says, he doesn't have the work history he says. There's a lot of issues there, but it's fascinating how little backing he has provided for virtually any of this. What do you think, Rayyvana?
I think everybody lies on their resume a little bit. But most people who lie on their resume aren't applying, to be someone holding federal office. So their background isn't looked into as extensively as someone who is running for federal office. And they don't have investigative journalists looking into their claims. So, I mean, I think it's ridiculous. I think that he's not the only person. We saw Madison Cawthorn, same playbook. Nobody really knew where his money came from. He had no work history whatsoever, but he said he was involved in all these businesses that turned out not to be true. They what the Republican Party does is they find someone who they think they can create a story about, pitch them as a candidate, build them up to be, that guy, and then run them. And he's won election. So now it's going to be 2 years before they can, people can do something about all these lies he told during his campaign. So the voters are in a crappy position. His constituents are in a crappy position, but he got away with it until now.
Yeah, at least as of right now. And one thing he has going for him going forward is that he's a Republican. So the likelihood of anything being done is very different in that case. Like I think about some of the Democrats that have left office for affairs or for Al Franken stepped down as a result of the picture that came out. This guy totally made up who he is, or didn't. Okay, maybe it's real, and weirdly there's no evidence of it. So far there's been no indication that it bothers the leadership of the Republican Party, that this guy is fundamentally a liar about virtually everything. And think about him in comparison to other candidates that have come out recently. Herschel Walker told a lot of lies. But you know what Herschel Walker also did? He actually played football. Like, there's at least something in his past that he talked about that is based in truth. With this guy, is there anything a voter can point to, a claim that he made? Are his parents who he says that they are? Like, do we even know that at this point? And so far, the Republican Party isn't pushing for him to answer these questions, let alone to step down. I will end with this. He put out a statement after all this news blew up. And he says George Santos represents the kind of progress that the left is so threatened by. A gay, Latino, first-generation American, a Republican who won a Biden district. Well, wait, I thought that the Democratic Party was taken over by the gay agenda. Why would they be against a gay Latino candidate? That doesn't make any sense. You guys are constantly attacking them for being in the bag for those populations. Whatever, okay.
Big gay, as it were.
Big gay, exactly. And then goes on, blah, 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 blah. It's no surprise that Congressman-elect Santos has enemies, the New York Times, who are attempting to smear his good name. Is it even his name? I don't know. With these defamatory allegations, as Winston Churchill famously stated, you have enemies, good. It means that you've stood up for something sometime in your life. And in true George Santos fashion, that does not appear to be a thing that Winston Churchill actually said. Some guy in 2009 is alleged to have actually said it. So he's even making up his quotes. And it's a vapid quote anyway. You could use that as a response to any criticism of you. You'll notice something that's missing from that paragraph. Denying literally any of the claims that have been made against him, or evidence of any of the claims that he's made. Weirdly, he didn't have room in his statement for any of that. That to me confirms that he's lying about this stuff. So hopefully the pressure stays on him.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.